It's the magic of the musicals on Broadway, and we're here at the Schubert Theatre talking to probably the world's greatest musical star. Hannah Waddingham, how are you?
Now that is my kind of intro. I'm very good, thank you.
I tell you why I like you. You're bubbly, you're fiery, you're gorgeous, you're attractive, and you can sing. You've got it all, haven't you?
Well, I don't know about that. You haven't seen me on my day off. I'm a distinctly messy-looking, sofa-sitting, television-flicking mess.
Well, that's my type of woman as well. You see, I first saw you years and years ago. I think The Beautiful Game was first, then I saw you in Tonight's the Night. Now you're in Spamalot here on Broadway, and I think you're in the perfect role for you because you're it for this production, aren't you?
Oh, thank you. Well, it's certainly absolutely I think, the most perfect role for me vocally to date, because it means, for once, I actually get a chance to use my opera range, because usually I'm just, wailing and, like you said, coming in, doing a ridiculous number, making the audience whoop and naffing off again. But this one I actually get a chance to take the mickey out of, the Phantom of the Opera and the like.
And your big number for me is the song that goes like this, which is probably the funniest song ever made in musicals, isn't it?
Yeah, I can't believe, when I actually first read those lyrics that Eric Idle and John Dupre wrote, I just thought, this is the biggest honey of a song ever. Yeah, there's one of those songs, and this is where we change the key, and when we change the key, and then we go screechy at the end. But do you know what? They get it totally here. I mean, literally, all it takes is for Chris Sieber to go, once in every show there comes a song like this, and they've got it. The next 3 minutes are just us over gilding the lily. It's basically adults behaving like children, all being completely ridiculous for 2 hours. And they're very clever. Mike Nichols and Peter Lawrence and Casey Nicholaw, the originators, are very clever at finding people who don't take themselves too seriously. We've all, got the chops, as we say in the business. Everyone can sing, everyone's fantastic actors, but nobody is, thinking it's Brecht. We're just all... In fact, Mike Nichols said to us all in the rehearsals, he said, look, you guys, you aren't funny. The material is funny. And if you don't forget that, you can't go wrong with Python.
I'm not a fan of Monty Python, but I loved this show the first time I saw it. You don't necessarily have to be a Monty fan to enjoy it, though.
Oh, God, certainly not. I mean, I think they've done a very clever mix. It is essentially based on the Holy Grail, but they've made a very clever mix of, they've put Always Look on the Bright Side of Life in there to open Act 2, which I think is a brilliant start to Act 2. But they've also made sure that you can feel from the audience that, you get the real Python stalwarts who know every single word and let you know that that's the exact, correct quote. But you also get, and I find it's actually the women that enjoy the show as a musical. And I don't know whether it's anything to do with my character being in it and making various ridiculous glamorous appearances or whatever, but they do seem to have mixed the two and made it a fantastic hybrid of Monty Python and a glamorous show at the same time.
There's one of my favourite bits in musical theatre ever, and I got to be honest with you, I'm not really into the more serious stuff. I like to laugh when I come into a theatre. I like to leave my brain at the door and just enjoy myself. And that number where you come on and you do Whatever Happened to My Part.
Yes.
Is just fantastic, isn't it? It's just an opportunity for you to just stand in front of the curtain and just have a laugh for a few minutes.
Yeah, but I have to say, as much as it's great catharsis when you're, been sitting in a dressing room for half an hour, it's also my nemesis, that song. Because once you've sung all the songs that I have to do in Act 1, everything from opera to taking the mickey out of Celine Dion, to taking the mickey out of Anastasia and Shirley Bassey and Cleo Lane, to then come in Act 2 and literally rant for 3 minutes, is just... Some days I will walk on from stage left and just think, let me just pray that this song doesn't get the better of me today.
Tell me about being you and how much fun it is to be the star of the West End and now the star of Broadway. It must be very nice knowing that if there's a new big role available, you've got a good chance of getting it.
Yeah, I seem to have got to a stage where, there's a few of us that they'll see right on the last day before the final. But I mean, it's not as if I've just kind of come from nowhere. I've grafted and I have to say my height is usually quite a problem, obviously being 5'11" with no shoes on. But by the same token, it means that when they specifically want somebody who they want to stand out or that doesn't need to, have a partner in it, have a boyfriend or whatever, then they generally knock on my door.
I think you'd have to go to a circus to find a man taller than you for a love role, wouldn't you?
I don't know. There have been a few.
Let's talk about the personalities in the West End, because I've said this before, and I noticed a picture of Maz Murray on your dressing room table.
Middle of my dressing table, Maz Murray and I at the Olivier's. She actually, when I was nominated, she rang me and she said, I want to be there with you, because I was singing that night. I was singing the Diva's Lament that night. And so we both got all spruced up, and she came there with me, and we've been firm friends since we did Smokey Joe's Cafe when we were 24. And in fact, I was just speaking to her on Skype today.
It's interesting. I mean, you two are completely unique and different, and I love Maz because she just steals the show in the same way that you do. I think that does work for you and against you, as you say. Some people don't want that, some people do. But in a show like this, or We Will Rock You, where she plays Killer Queen, it's just spot on, and you need stars, because it seems like today we're creating lots of very talented people who can sing and dance and act, but they're all kind of in the same group together. They don't stick out, and therefore they're not really headliners.
No, I suppose not. I mean, Maz, for me personally, I've always said to her, if there's one person that's going to sing at my wedding, it's her. When she opens her mouth, she literally, it's like a tap goes on and I just can't stop crying. It just does something to me, her voice, it really does. And she's just recently done a workshop for a new musical in London that I actually suggested her for, because I was speaking to the producers about it, and I said, do you know who you have to have playing that part? And it's Maz Murray. So they've had her playing the lead part in it in the workshop, and we'll see what happens with it.
These shows are very structured, and they have to be for many reasons. How do you cope with doing the same show over and over again?
Well, I always say, I get more bored of the backstage, who you pass at a certain time in the wings every night. I get more bored of that. That's like Groundhog Day. But I genuinely think there are no two audiences that are the same. Sometimes they're so dry and boring, you just think, why have you parted with all your money? And then other times it's like being in Wembley Arena, or rather Madison Square Garden here. But I actually find with this part, there is even less room for me to play around, because once we've got it to where myself and the director wanted it, that is what works with the audience. So you just have to go into a zone, and I'm still very happy to do that. And I mean, I wouldn't have been happy to stay in London for another year. I definitely wouldn't be able to do that, because your creative juices feel like they've completely dried up. But to move from the West End production to the Broadway production was like, a breath of fresh air for me.
I've spoken to a lot of people, including Michael Ball, who believes that the work ethic here on Broadway is in a different league compared to the West End. How are you finding it fitting in? Are you challenged more every day? Have they pushed you to a greater limit than you were in the West End?
I disagree with Michael, actually. I'm allowed to say that because I know him. I actually disagree. I think that certainly, I'll just speak in terms of the Spamalot company in London, actually. The work ethic there, I literally could never fault anyone ever. I used to watch a lot from the wings, because I obviously have like half an hour, 45 minutes off before the Act 2 number. And I used to watch it, and you never saw anyone, as we say, phoning it in. And you don't hear. The only thing I will say is that I think because of all the union stuff here, they are more disciplined backstage. You can't do this at a certain time, you can't do that after a certain time, you don't have warm-up on stage because of all the loopholes and everything. But no, I think it actually does the West End a disservice to say that Broadway is a higher standard.
I suppose they have more people to pick from, which probably makes it better to be in England, really, because you've got more of a chance of actually getting on stage. It must be very disheartening when you're applying for a job on Broadway. There's probably only 200 roles available, and there's 360 million people or whatever.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, that's what's been such a huge honour for me. When they first asked me to do this, I just thought, I actually can't allow myself to think how many women they could have had that would have been a whole lot easier. They wouldn't have had to get the immigration done and all the visa and blah, blah, blah. So every time I see them, every time I see Eric Idle or John Dupre or Mike Nichols, all of them, I say to them, look, this is no small thing for me. As much as I'm confident in what I do and I'm very proud of being a West End girl, for them to bring me to Broadway, literally, I could quite happily stop now. Maybe I'm wrong, but I think musicals are best done on Broadway. I think plays, in the main, are best done in the West End. So it's a bit of give and take, really.
Absolutely. Let's talk about your life here. How does it work? Do they put you up in a hotel for 3 years or however long you're here? Do you get your own place? Do you get chauffeur driven?
I have a beautiful apartment on 57th, just the bottom corner by Columbus Circle. Absolutely stunning, all paid for. I get per diems, lovely. So it's let's just say I'm having a very nice time.
And you can be a bit showbiz when you're walking through Broadway and seeing your poster everywhere. Is there any way of describing the emotion when you drove here the first time and saw the big billboards and your name was on it?
Yeah, and I'd forgotten that my name was appearing top right on the poster, and I just thought, I'm top right on a poster on Broadway. I mean, but it's a bit of a double-edged thing for me, because I just think I have worked very hard, and I don't expect anything less for myself, because I've really put the work in, and this part is my baby, you know. As much as I've enjoyed other parts, this one just encompasses everything that I can do, you know, the comedy thing with the singing. And so part of me thinks I deserve to be here, but the other part, every now and again, I just pinch myself and think, I can't believe that my photo is on West 44th between 8th and Broadway.
It is an interesting thing, and the bigger stars you talk to, the more humble I think they become, because if you start realising how lucky you are or how talented you must be to be here compared to others, you probably would go insane and you would demand roses to be spread in front of you as you were walking in.
Absolutely. I mean, there are any number of brilliant people I can think of in the West End who deserve to be here, and it's just when they come knocking on your door, you just think, no, really? Seriously? You know, there are phenomenal people on the other side of the pond. So, you know, I actually haven't stopped doing that thing of pinching myself and just being very giddy about it. In fact, I did a piece for BBC News the other day, and I played it back on my computer, and I just thought, I just sound like a squawking child because I'm so excited to be here. There's nothing cool and calm and, oh yeah, well, you know, an actor prepares. I'm just giddy as hell, and I know I will be till I leave here.
I better let you go now, because you've got to go and entertain Broadway. Isn't that nice? Who'd have thought I'd be saying that?
I know, isn't that camp? Little girl from Wandsworth Common, eh?
Good to talk to you. There's nothing common about you at all. Hannah Waddingham is the big star here on Broadway now, and there's a reason you've been chosen. It's because you're gorgeous and you're fabulous and you sing like a bird. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.